Turn your digital devices on. Tune into the trendiest team in town. Bringing you music, great guests, hot topics, and lifestyle views that's going on now. It's the Miss O Show, O Show. It's the Miss O Show, O Show. It's the Miss O Show, O Show. It's the Miss O Show. We're about to get this poppin' now. O Show.
Hey.
Oh, what's happening? What
it do? Yes.
Oh, man, hold up, time out. Wait a minute.
Woo.
Welcome back.
Hey.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Miss O Show with your boy Swangin'. We are in the building. I hope y'all are in the building with us.
Woo. Oh my God. I feel like we just was struggling to make it to this goddamn show. We have rescheduled this show a gazillion times.
Yes, indeed, we have. Had to switch it up, had to swap it out, had to do a whole bunch of things.
Oh my God. But at least we made it. I mean, that's all that matters. We were straight up super sick, both of us.
Ooh, that thing was tough. I tell you, it was tough. But we here now.
I was about to say, but we made it through. And shout out to all of the listeners. Thank you so much for joining the Miss O Show with Swangin'. If this is your first time joining us, thank you for joining us. If you are a returning listener, we love you and thank you for returning. Before we get started, please make sure that you share, like, comment, subscribe. I mean, none of that costs you anything.
Zero.
I mean, it really doesn't. It doesn't cost you anything to just support. Can we get some support, please?
and there's no tariffs over here either. Goddamn.
No, not at all. I'm just saying, can we just get some love?
And we don't have any concepts of a show. We got a goddamn show.
That part.
Yes,
and let us know if you can't hear us or if we too loud or any of that stuff. Because sometimes we don't know what we sound like until you guys tell us. Right. But as always, we like to start our show with a show affirmation. And tonight's show affirmation is, I am strong mentally and I can overcome any obstacle that comes my way.
Yes, indeed. That is a mindset and a lifestyle. All day long.
Yes.
And
you really have to think that. Like, you really have to think that, believe that, and know that. Like, that is so important because of the simple fact that so much is going on in this world. There's a lot going on in this world.
A lot.
And, in the world in general, but also in everyone's individual lives. And if you do not know how to understand that regardless of whatever is going on, you are still good, you still are able to press through, then, yeah.
Like you said, you just got to press through and you got to believe, you got to have faith in yourself because at the end of the day, the only thing that you can protect is your peace and your home.
Yes.
Just make sure you keep those in the front, the frontal lobe. The rest of the stuff, let it fall. You can't stop that. It's not your responsibility. But your house is. Your mind is.
That part. Well, cheers.
Oh, indeed.
Cheers to a great show.
I hope everyone has their beverage of choice.
Yes. Of course, I'm sipping on some Sauvignon Blanc.
Oh, you fancy, huh?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just slightly. That's all.
Just know I'm sipping on a swangin' creation that's full of shenanigans. And I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it
I can only imagine.
Yes, indeed.
You ain't gonna tell us what's in this swinging shenanigans?
Nah. You gotta come into my personal space, even though this is my personal space. But you gotta be here for it because you gotta partake with me in order to understand. You gotta take a chance. You gotta take a chance.
That sounds a little scary, but okay.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta jump off the cliff. You know what I'm saying? Just make sure you have a parachute.
I mean, I don't know. I'd be a little scared. Hey, Crystal. How you doing, girl?
What up,
What's up, Crystal?
That's my dog.
Coming back. We miss you. We love you so much. We were hoping to see you.
Indeed. Pleasure to have you as always.
As always, she always has like the most amazing comments. I always feel like she's a part of the show, really a part of the show.
Yes, indeed.
So how was the weekend, sir? I mean, besides, you being sicky poo, is that what the whole weekend was about?
Yeah, pretty much. The whole weekend was recovery. The whole weekend was trying to figure out how, what, where, and everything else that this germ decided to latch on to me. But I put on the Dukes, I put on the gloves, not like Tyson, but I put on the gloves and knocked it out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm about 95% right now. Give me about another 24 hours, I might be at 100, but I'm here though.
So you had like full-blown cooties.
Why does everybody keep saying that? I don't know where that drained like ever since I got sick. Yeah, I'll take the cooties, even though the cooties is a lot different. It's a lot different from when I was a young kid, in the elementary playgrounds. Cooties was, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm back though. I'm back. How about you?
Oh, I'm good.
You had the cooties too.
I did not have the cooties. Only men get the cooties. I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. Well, let me come up with a name that you had.
Cooties is for men, not.
This is a PG show, so I don't want to go too far off the rails and have the FCC coming for me and shit. So I'm gonna go ahead and just let it ride.
No, I'm feeling better too. No lie. I'm gonna tell y'all. We literally sat there and we were texting each other back and forth. We were like, "Do you think you can do it?" I'm like, he's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Do you think you can take over the show? Because I can't do it." He's like, "Yeah, I don't know." Man, we really
all the way to the 10th hour.
All the way. Because we did not want to, because we'd already rescheduled it because of the election. Mm-hmm. Then we came back and then we were like, damn, we're sick. So we were like, crap, we wanted to kind of push through, but child, y'all would have been, my voice was gone. Man. And Swanger said he couldn't even sing Welcome Back. I just gotta try that show.
I would have sounded awful. I ain't saying I sound like Luther right now, but I would have sounded awful. That shit would have been terrible.
So did you do anything, or you just chilled the whole weekend?
Yeah, I pretty much chilled the whole weekend. I literally laid up for like a few days. Like normally I'm slightly OCD a little bit. So when I leave like clothes around or stuff like that, that's when I'm tapped all the way out. So my room had clothes all on one side of the bed and stuff like that. And after a while I was like, you know what? I don't care how sick you are. You got to get up and put these clothes away, go wash clothes, go do something. So I ended up doing all of that. And once I did all of that, of course, you got to wash your linens or change your linens and everything. So you won't have those germs, keep laying on the same germs.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much all I did this past weekend. I was like, yeah, I got to get my whole life, my entire life. So, yeah.
So you started feeling sick the earlier part of the week?
Hell. This was last Monday? Not this past Monday, but last Monday. So this weekend I was still in recovery mode. Yeah, so I was dead in the water for at least about a week and a half.
Wow.
At least about a week and a half. So
I'm gonna ask you. Well, I mean, you were sick. Did you get a chance to watch the fight?
yes, matter of fact, you know what? I did go over my man's house because I forced myself. I was feeling a little better. I made sure I kind of stayed my distance away from people, so I wouldn't get them sick. But I did go over my man's house to watch the fight. Unfortunately, yeah, I still feel robbed, even though I didn't pay for it. I still feel robbed a little bit. Yeah, like I have my take on the fight, but at the end of the day, I think Mike just wanted that 20 bands, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
So it was tough. It was tough, but you know, like life be lifing, man. Life be life.
I was sick. Let me see. So I got sick. I think it was Tuesday night. So I was out of work Wednesday and Thursday. By like late Thursday evening, I started feeling a little better. So then I worked from home Friday, and then I started feeling better. Then I was like, I want to go out and watch the fight. So I did. And did I end up going to like a couple of spots? I went to 2 different spots to watch the fight. And I had a really good time. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have high expectations for the fight, but I just did not expect that.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
I didn't. Especially with
the hard seeing him like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just because everybody just always known him to be, you know, Mike Tyson, you know, iron, like just vicious. But I mean, he's also 58, so this man is almost 60 years old.
Nah.
I mean, he looks good physically, but you know, we don't know what his, you know, his stamina and all that shit's like. I mean, you still have to be able to like go those rounds, even though it wasn't long.
Well, see, here's my thing. Like they showed him training, you know what I'm saying, and showing him training. Oh, he looked like the Mike of old. He literally looked like the Mike of old. Yeah. But then when he was coming out of the back, and as soon as he tripped, I was like, oh yeah, this is about to go sideways real fast. I still had a little bit of hope, but I knew when I saw him trip, I was like, yeah, this is about to go all the way sideways. Like all the way.
But you know, like shit, I mean, for $20 million, if you need me to kick your ass, I will. If you need me to lose, I will.
I will. For real.
If you need me to fight some people in the audience, I will.
I will.
If you need me to smack my daddy, I will. I love you, daddy, but I will. What? So I'm just saying, for $20 million, I mean, yes. Everybody's like, oh, this and that. I get that, but shit, for $20 million, yeah. Listen. And you know, Jake Paul was the promoter and all of that type of stuff. So I mean, this man's gonna promote this fight and then get his ass kicked. So
yeah, of course, because that wouldn't look right. You know what I'm saying? You paid to get your butt whooped. Yeah, that's crazy. Like, who does that? You know what I'm saying? Who does that? So yeah, I definitely understood. But yeah, it was lackluster at the end of the day. It wasn't the Mike that we know, and yeah, he's older and so on and so forth. But like I said, them clips of him, of him getting prepared.
And I think that they did that on purpose. We got bamboozled because they did that on purpose. They made us be like, ooh. And then he walking around there with his ass out with G-strings on. I'm like, listen, kids and older people, he's not old, but kids and older people just don't give a damn. Once you get to a certain age, you're like, F it. I don't care. I want the cheeks out. I don't even give a damn. I don't even care if my cheeks flat, flabby. I don't care. The cheeks need air. I mean, he came out in a bikini or whatever the hell that was.
Yeah, it was a jock strap. It was a jock strap.
Yes, no, but like when he did the weigh-in, I mean, he had on drawers then. Yeah, I think he just like feeling himself. His wife is like, baby, you look good, but listen, you look good. You better go out there and show them what 58 is supposed to look like.
And then who's going to tell him anything? It's Mike Tyson. Right. Who's going to tell him something? You know what I'm saying? I ain't going to say, Mike, put your cheeks today, bro. Put your cheeks away, Mike. I ain't gonna say that shit.
No.
Mike, rock your cheeks.
No.
Rock your cheeks.
At all.
Yeah.
Oh man, so I'm trying to think. So I did that Friday. Oh, I can't. I don't even remember. That's pretty bad.
Listen.
Damn. Oh, yeah. Okay. So then, yeah, I didn't do anything Saturday because I was recovering from Friday. Listen, I can't hang. I can't hang. I don't know how people do it. I'm a one and done. One party per week is it. Okay. And I prefer it to be a day party. I cannot hang. I can't. I really thought I was like being a little college girl. You know, me and my girlfriend went to one place. You know, we started at like 5 because we had to get there and get seats, and it was like happy hour. So we're there at like 5 o'clock. We start drinking at 5. You know what time the damn fight came on. So we're drinking there, leave there, go to another spot, drinking there. I'm telling you, Saturday, my body was like, all right, you keep thinking it's cute. I got something for that ass.
So I did Saturday.
I recovered Saturday.
Well, that's good. You know what I'm saying? Recovery days is always nice, man. As a matter of fact, I did the same thing. Well, no, I cleaned up Saturday. I made sure I was, because like I said, I was feeling a little better. So I'm literally like just went through the entire house and just sweat, mopped, dusted, like everything. I was like, I'm tired of sitting around like not doing nothing. So I was crazy with it.
Yeah, no, I get it. Crystal said not seeing the training clips made me not have any expectations, and I can see just going out there for the money. Exactly.
Yeah. I wish I wouldn't have saw the training clips, because if I didn't see the training clips, then I probably wouldn't have had the expectations as, you know, Chris just said. I'm like, yeah, I would have been like, oh, well, Mike is Mike, but
he's still 58.
Yeah, he's still 58. I would have been able to deal with the 58 better if I didn't see the training clips, for sure.
Well, shout out to Mike Tyson, because I am all for anyone having the courage to do shit that's just not the norm, to do something that might be scary, but they're just stepping out there and they just doing it. Like, yeah. I mean, at 58, like, I'm gonna do a whole lot of shit, because I really just don't know how much longer I have. Wow. So if there was ever anything in my thought process of like, man, I really would like to do this, I'm gonna do it. Hopefully, don't take me out earlier, but I'm gonna try it. You know,
you got to.
Shit. I want to be able to feel like I did everything I wanted to do before I rolled up out of here.
Yeah, you can't leave no stone unturned. Sometimes you gotta do it. You gotta figure it
out.
That part. Gotta figure it out.
All right, guys. Well, we've been rambling on about our weekends, but let's talk about tonight's show, because I know everybody signs on to hear tonight's show, and tonight's show is such a major important topic, you know. And so tonight we're going to be talking about mental health, you know, and because this is such a really broad topic, we're going to do it like in a 2-part show. And tonight's show is going to be focusing on men's mental health. Right. And the second part will be on women. And I really want to do that because I just feel like a lot of times men just do not get the attention that they need. I just feel like it. I just feel like men always are secondhand everything for the holidays, for everything. And, you know, I truly feel that men need the focus on so many different things because they're going through a lot. And of course, you know, we're really excited to discuss this, but in order for us to do, when we talk about different topics, we always try to bring somebody on here, because of course then it would just be Swangin and I talking and giving our advice and our opinions. But we decided to bring on tonight, his name is Paul Bashea Williams. He is a CEO, licensed psychotherapist, and an author. So, I mean, he is an amazing person. He has so much going on. And he's really excited about this topic. This is something that he is very passionate about. And he's going to be able to come on here. Hopefully he'll give some insight about, you know, mental health, mental illnesses. You guys be able to walk away with some tips that you can actually use in your own individual lives. And It's gonna be a great topic, and this
No
is
doubt.
even though this is a show, about men, and it's celebrating men, it's speaking about men. This is not a show just for men. This is a show for women to listen to too, because we as women, a lot of times our partners or our sons or our dads or the men in our lives are going through mental issues. You know, they're really struggling. And a lot of times we just do not know what to do to help them.
I agree. And I think speaking for myself, but it's also speaking for men, like we do our best to compartmentalize certain issues and certain things. And as great as that is, that way one thing won't spill into the next. A lot of things go unresolved, which causes those mental breakdowns or those bouts of depression or what have you. So I can't wait to speak to them. I can't wait to, nosedive into what I can do better and what I can share with the guys that I know that may be battling, their own demons, so to speak. So I definitely I can't wait to get into it.
Yes. So we actually have Mr. Williams backstage. What we're going to do is I'm talking a 1 minute, 2 minute, 1 minute break. Do not go anywhere. Do not go anywhere, because like I said, we have Mr. Williams backstage. He's ready to come on, and we're going to jump right into this topic because we're going to be here for the rest of the night. We have a bunch of questions to ask, and it's going to be really interactive. So we want all your questions. Anything that you have questions about, we want you to put them in the chat so that we can actually ask him as well your questions. And again, we want this to be a very interactive, show as far as when it comes down to this topic. If you have somebody that is dealing with it and you have certain questions, we want you to put those questions out there as well so that we can also ask Mr. Williams as well. So like I said, we're going to take a quick 1-2 minute break, and then when we come back, we will be back on with Bashea Williams.
All right.
All right. We are back. Told y'all it was going to be a little quick break. Y'all probably didn't have enough time to go to the bathroom. We know y'all got a very, very short attention span, so
That's right. Adults are worse than children.
We are so super excited. So without further ado, we're going to bring on our special guest for tonight, Mr. Paul Bashea Williams. Woo!
Hey, what's going on?
What up?
What's going on?
What's happening?
I can't hear you too well. Let's see. Can you turn up a little bit?
Is that better?
Yes. Very much so.
Get closer.
Thank you for joining us. How are you this evening?
I am good. I'm winding down. I had a long day. Admin stuff, clients, just a long, busy day, but I'm good.
It's good to see you again, man.
You too, man.
Yes. Last time we saw you, we were in studio, but this time we have the ability and the wonderful chance to be able to be home.
I'm glad y'all feeling better too. Y'all know y'all was sick.
Oh man, I know. When I was talking to him, I was like, man, we really think we're gonna just try to push through, but
yeah, definitely appreciate it, man.
No problem.
Again, so thank you so much for joining us. This topic, like we said before, is so important to us. You know, we really wanted to have somebody on that was knowledgeable about it and that could really talk about it, because, you know, mental health is so important. I feel like a lot of times, you know, men's mental health just really doesn't get the type of attention that it needs. And so we're very thankful that you came on tonight to discuss this as well as other things. But before we get into the actual topic, if you can just let everybody know a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so I am Paul Bashea Williams, licensed clinical social worker and psychotherapist. I'm also a husband. I'm a dad. I'm a homeboy. I run Hearts and Mind Counseling. I have about 8 clinicians that work for me, all clinicians of color, and we serve the whole DMV as much as we can. What else? I'm a former hooper. Until the knees got bad. Also an author of Dear Future Wife, A Man's Guide and a Woman's Reference to Healthy Relationships. And I wrote a father's journal that my son and I wrote together. And I have another journal that's on the way. It's specifically for Black men.
Wow.
Hey, I like that. I like that.
Yes, I love that. Good job. I love it. You have a lot.
Well, I'm pretty sure we'll get to that, you know, later on in the show. But yeah, we're gonna definitely need that information to get your stuff out there, you know, for everybody that needs it.
Absolutely. I'll send you a free copy.
Oh. Definitely
There
appreciate
that.
Look.
Yes. All right, so we have a lot to cover tonight, so let's just jump right in. So, I mean, a lot of people don't really, I'm assuming they do, but we just want to start off with the basis as far as like, you know, what is mental health and, you know, what is mental illness? So let's see here. It's probably hard to see. It's tiny, but their mental health is, why is it so little? Jesus God. Can anybody see this? Okay, there we go. Mental health. Okay, so they're saying mental health is a state of well-being in which a person realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. That's like actual mental health. That's when, you know, that's your mental health. That's stable relationships, self-confidence, you know, clear thinking, and then versus mental illness, whereas they're saying that mental illness is defined as health condition that affects a person's thinking, feelings, behavior, moods, and it also affects someone's ability to relate to others and function each day. Saying that, you know, people tend to pull away when they're going through these things and all of that. So based off of the definitions that we just saw, of mental health versus mental illness, do you feel like most men are operating with more mental health or mental illnesses?
So mental illness is like something under the umbrella, right? So I want you to just envision it's kind of like how I like to simplify it is like your overall health. Like when you're feeling good, you can go do your normal things. You can go to work. You can hang out with the kids, hang out with the family. Like you're feeling good. Everything is okay, right? But if you have a cold, you kind of want to distance yourself. You want to treat that cold. Something is interrupting how you would typically operate. So that's the same thing with mental illness. We all have mental health. Everybody has mental health. If you're breathing, you're thinking, you're mobile, you're emotionally invested in some things, even if you feel sometimes that you aren't as emotionally invested, but you're kind of even keeled, you're still managing your mental health, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a mental illness that disrupts that consistently, because we all go through mental illness spots, right? We all don't have a diagnosis, right? We all have traits and things that we go through that impact the way we feel, how we see ourselves, how we process different emotions, how we process different thoughts, and how we show up. So it really depends on what's going on, right? We all experience it, all of it, because there might be something that just disrupts a mood, a thought, an experience, something that happened, that somebody came and said something to you that impacts the way you're just processing generally, right? But if you're talking about serious mental illness, you're talking about depression, anxiety, there's good anxiety, there's bad anxiety. We have so many misconceptions about what mental illness is and how pervasive it has to be in order to be clinically diagnosed with that we often get confused with our feelings and our thoughts and our emotional regulation. So to answer your question, again, it's not something that I can really say that most men are dealing with this. Most men, every man in the world has mental health. Not every man in the world has mental illness.
Got you.
I spoke on something before you came on about especially the way, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people, men, definitely, we compartmentalize things. To me, compartmentalizing can be a good thing. That way it stops one situation from flooding into another situation. But then we also probably do not go back and deal with that, whatever that situation was that created us to have to compartmentalize. Do you think that compartmentalizing, can that be a good thing? Or should everything be on the same plate? You know how you have a plate, Thanksgiving's coming up. You don't want your food touching type of situation.
Mm-hmm. It really, again, it really depends. Like, I don't think we're monolithic, and I think that's what gets us so in trouble. We think that we all have to follow the same secret sauce, right? We all have to follow the same path and do everything the same way. There are some times where we have to not focus on what's hurting us right now to get the job done, right? There's some times that we do need to come back and process that, because otherwise it's going to manifest in different ways. So if I'm thinking about even like clients in between sessions, like a client may say, like, I was going through something, but I can't even remember what it was by the time we came to the session. I should have wrote it down. That happens so often in between sessions that, again, this was hurting at the particular time, or this was distracting me, or this was impacting me at that time, but I got over it. But if it keeps manifesting, it keeps revisiting, right? And it's, again, disrupting normal way of living, then we need to really investigate it. Like some of those things from the past, even some of those things that's happening right before you got into the session.
Gotcha.
So how do you, I totally understand what you're saying. At what point, is there some certain point where because you said everybody has mental health, of course, right? Is there certain things that you will see, or is there a certain point where you feel like, okay, I done went from having mental health to now this is a mental illness? And even if you don't diagnose it yourself as a mental illness, but you're like, hey, something's going on. I feel depressed, or I don't feel myself, like something's going on. Like, do you feel like is there something that goes off? And part two of that, do you feel like it's different for men? Like, do you feel like because men are supposed to be so strong all the time that their go off time point may be a lot longer? You know, it might be a bigger span than it would for a woman.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, if it continues to show up, like you just said, like if it's disrupting the normal way of living, and this thing keeps clouding your judgment, this thing keeps interrupting connection with other people, this thing keeps interrupting the things that you normally love to do, right? There has to be a shift, and a consistent shift, to say this is something that needs to be addressed, right? And part of that is we're conditioned to ignore our pain. We're conditioned to not show weakness, vulnerability. We're conditioned to be the strong ones all the time. Mm-hmm. Right. And if I'm not the strong one all the time, that means I'm not a man. But that's not true at all. And what we have to do, because it takes strength to really show the vulnerability and really address what we're feeling. And again, growing up, even myself, the emotions that were acceptable was, you got to be happy, angry. You can be angry, but you got to use that anger towards something, right? Anything in between, there's no exploration, right? I can't explore any other emotions. Right. It's you say what you're sad for. Wow. Right? Turn that sadness into anger and use that as strength to win. Yeah. And I didn't know anything in between that. So if somebody says something to me, my response is, yes, they hurt me, but I can't show that I'm hurt. So now I need to punch.
Oh.
I need to retaliate. So I didn't have any feelings growing up because I'm fighting all my friends. Until I was able to really process the emotions and say, yo, that didn't feel good. For us to stay cool, we got to talk a little different. But then we also, what we learn to, growing up in the hood, we learn to desensitize ourselves to the things that are said to us. Like we used to say the worst things to each other.
Right.
And the goal was to say the worst, whoever said the worst, to get the other person to feel bad. Like our goal was to hurt another person, like through joning or whatever we called it, different neighborhoods called it something. And we normalized that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That is true.
I think we still do that. And I think we're probably, I don't know. I know for myself, I still throw little jabs here and there, but I don't think they come with the same malice as they probably did when I was younger. But just because I think I'm not doing it with malice, I still should take in consideration how it may affect that other person.
Mm-hmm. And that right there is emotional intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Like essentially, we need to improve our emotional intelligence just in general, just to get more educated about emotions. But I don't think men get enough credit for having emotional intelligence, because we know that if I say this is going to make things get worse. And sometimes we hold our tongues, regardless of who we're talking to. Right. And even if we're monitoring our homeboy and saying that dude is emotional, I gotta be cool because he's off the rocker, right? So that's emotional awareness. That's the key to emotional intelligence. Yeah. So just like you said, the consideration and how I manage my emotions, what I do, if I go into this space and I act a certain way, I know it's going to cause chaos. So I need to be killed. That's emotional intelligence as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned something a little earlier when you were talking about, how you grew up and everything. Let's talk about what is your thoughts as far as that, because I do feel like that has a lot to do with when it comes down to men. I mean, men were raised, I'm not saying all, but majority of men were raised that you don't show emotions. You don't show that you're sad. You don't show that you're, like if a boy said, "Mom, I'm depressed," what? Like, get yourself together. Like, all of that. They were not allowed to have any type of feelings, like you said, maybe except like anger or something like that. I mean, number one, how do you truly feel that has impacted like a lot of the men currently? And then, I mean, beyond, and how would they be able to recognize that some of the ways that they are now actually could have come from some of the ways that they were, that how they were raised as a child?
What's interesting about that, like previously, we just didn't have the language. We didn't have the education around what depression looks like. We didn't have the education around what anxiety looks like. We were often the most misdiagnosed people on this planet, right? We were given conduct disorder when we struggle with emotion dysregulation. We struggle with depression. We struggle with anxiety, ADHD. We were just misdiagnosed as conduct disorder or oppositional defiant disorder. And sometimes we were diagnosed based on our behavior when we showed up at school. We really didn't have nutrition in our breakfast or have breakfast at all, right? So how do I function in a school when I'm on an empty stomach? Like as an adult, we know if I didn't eat, then I'm going to have an attitude, right? Hangry, that's normalized today. But that's the street language for I'm simply starving and I don't have any nutrients for my brain, right? So as we continue to talk about it, when men come into my office and they start to tell their story, when they're actually given a safe space to tell their story, they connect the dots between their childhood and why they're showing up today, right? And if we're in a barbershop or we're just outside or watching the game, he's like, I remember when I was younger, this is when I first started doing this. It's just giving somebody a space of really understanding where this came from. This is why I don't talk to anybody anymore, because when I did share that, it was used against me. Right. This is why I don't talk to anybody anymore, because when I did share it, nobody responded to it and told me to get over it. Right. I didn't get the things that I needed, even if I didn't even know what I needed at that particular point. But I wanted somebody to be curious about how I was feeling in my experience growing up.
Wow.
It's definitely tough. I know. I think if you can bring it up, Job B said, I know people at my job like that. And the hangry situation, I don't really see too many dudes doing that. I think that's more of a female trait at this point. No shots, no shade. You know what I'm saying?
About being hangry?
No shade, right? But yeah, it's the smallest thing that could affect us. And if we don't, I'm pretty sure there's parts and times of my life that I don't react the way. Well, I think it's called hindsight. You know, I react this way initially, but then I go back and say, you know what, maybe. Do you find that in your clients, without too much, just overall, that they are aware of their past coming into their present?
Yeah, some are very aware, but they just don't know what to do with it. Right. And it's just a part of their story.
Yeah.
Where I'm like this because of this. Well, what do you want to do with that? Right. So when you remember your younger self, like the younger boy, and that experience happened, you developed a coping mechanism of survival when that thing pops up again. So now you're still protecting the younger boy that never felt seen, never felt protected, never had what he needed. And so now it's just like nobody is ever going to make me feel that way. Right. Or I've told myself that no one is ever going to give me the space to get what I need. And my needs aren't important. Right. Because we got, again, society tells us we're the provider, we're the helper, we're the fixer, we're the one who gets it done. And if we can't get it done, then we're less than a man.
All right, so let me bring this up. Because I can't see. Okay, so it says half of American men have suffered with mental health. Okay, according to surveys results, there's 1 in 2 men in the U.S. have suffered from some symptoms of poor mental health. But just about 31% of them received a medical diagnosis, while 68% found it easy to confide in others about their depressive thoughts and low moods. 2 in 10 say they can't talk about it, which means they're bottling up their feelings and they're making the situation worse. They say when it comes to the stigma attached to poor health, it's clear that more work needs to be done, with 40% of American men saying they wouldn't talk about it due to feeling embarrassed, and 38% of the stigma involved. However, for many men, the reasons for not talking about it are 1, not wanting to burden people, 35%, not wanting to appear weak, 25%, not wanting to admit that they need help, 19%. And sadly, 20% said that they had a negative past experience about opening up, and 30% believe that they can deal with their problems on their own, which is pretty much what you were just saying too, that you said that you experienced something like that with somebody when they said that they talked about it before and they didn't have a really good experience about that. So my question to you is, let's discuss that. I mean, people cannot get the help that they need if they do not first think that they have a need, or if they're not willing or afraid to seek out help. So based on your experience and knowledge, why do you feel that most men are suffering and do not seek out help? I know we kind of, touched about that a little bit, but, what do you think is beyond being afraid or whatever? What do you think is the main reasons?
Just like they said, like the feeling of being embarrassed to sharing that I have a weakness, right? And that means if I have a chink in the armor, that means I'm vulnerable, and that means I am not who society says I should be. There's this idea that even when we go to the doctor, I kind of have to check myself and tell my doctor all my symptoms, right? Tell them my knee is hurting or something. And we typically don't speak. That's why we just go in there and it's procedural if we go, because there's also this thing called white coat syndrome, that the idea that if I go to the doctor, that means that this horrible diagnosis, on the catastrophized horrible diagnosis is going to come. The doctor's going to tell me everything that I'm doing wrong, and I'm going to be seen. And to be seen means to be vulnerable and to be susceptible to hurt, right? And also to trust another person with my stuff is scary. So why would I open up? And especially previous experiences, our lack of education when it comes to mental health, our idea of how can the helper ask for help when I'm supposed to be in the role, right? That's a concept that we struggle with as well. It's so many different reasons why people do that. And again, there's this identity crisis too. Like, what do you mean I need help? I'm not supposed to need help. I've been told that I'm supposed to be the one to help others, and I'm supposed to be the one to have it all together, even when I don't. Push through it, man up. And so we do suffer in silence. But at the same time, some of that is we've told ourselves we've been resilient because we survived that way. So if it worked before, that means it can work again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think in the clip that you just showed, I think I fall into the burden category. I think that was like 35%. And I know I've attempted to get better, and I think I have gotten better. But that has probably been one of the things that I'm 51 right now that I probably have been riding with since I was maybe about 18. But now, or in the past decade, asking for help, you just got to. You know, for men, to me, we just have to get out of our own way. Like, you don't have to wear the cape. You can be Clark Kent. It's okay to be Clark Kent because Clark Kent is cool too, you know. So I try to talk to the guys that I know, that I care about, my sons and everything else. Like, just speak. It's okay to just talk. But if someone is programmed in that manner, it's kind of hard to get them to understand, like, that it's okay.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I like to talk about the Clark Kent Superman dynamic, right? And even in imaging in movies, you see Clark Kent was cool when he was in the office, but remember when he was down at the cafe, he was down at the whatever that thing was, like he was down there eating, and the dude was bullying him.
Yeah.
Now we have this image of me being normal means I'm susceptible to being bullied, right? I'm picked on, right?
Yeah.
We have this huge contrast between the two people. When he was cool, he was chilling, but he didn't have to be a doormat. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's not like Clark Kent doesn't have to be a doormat. Clark Kent can be cool and just not say, like, you know what, that's not my fight.
Right.
Right. And he's surrounded by teams, surrounded by Lois. He's showing interest, and he's just like, yeah, I'm just cool. I'm chilling. I don't have to save the day. And when it's time to save the day, I'll decide if I need to save the day.
Right. Right.
So when you talk about that, even you're like, how to get people to invest in that, maybe sharing your story, like when you were 18, what shaped you to say that you felt like a burden? Like, who told you that weren't necessary at that time? Because that's who's telling you that each time you think about reaching out. The 18-year-old is saying that, yo, remember, that's a burden. And we got to challenge those inner thoughts and sit with our inner teen, our inner child, and say, nah, you deserve this. It's your
no, this I you know, it's because as women, we really just do not know. And, you know, like, I won't get emotional, but I you know, I can't even fathom, you know, women were emotional. Not all of us, but majority of us were emotional. I can't fathom having feelings about something or being a certain way, or I'm going through something and I have to bottle it up. I have to push it down. I have to act tough. I can't express it. I'm scared to express it. I don't know how to express it. Like, I just can't even fathom that, you know? And there are so many men that are literally walking around every single day. And you're like, how you doing? You good, babe? Yeah, I'm fine. And they have all this stuff going on inside. And inside is saying something totally different, but they don't know how to say it, when to say it, who to say it to, where's the safe space, is there a safe space, you know? But it brings me on to this next one here. Wanda, I did see your comment, honey. I'm going to bring that up when we get to that part. 1 second. Let's see. So, all right. So it says 1 in 4 men have experienced suicidal thoughts. Tragically, 1 in 4 men in the U.S. have suicidal thoughts, with 24% experiencing bizarre or strange thoughts and 12% having hallucinations. However, somewhat reassuring is that 86% of the men felt they could reach out to someone if they were experiencing those suicidal thoughts, right? With 46% seeking professional advice, 40% a family member, and 35% a friend. However, that still means 14% of the men wouldn't talk about it, which could have fatal consequences. When asked about the factors that played into poor mental health, financial issues was overwhelming leading cause, with 46% of the U.S. men citing it as the reason they felt low. Health was the second most common answer at 36%, followed by work pressures, 31%, and abuse, trauma, or neglect, and social isolation or loneliness at 23%. When breaking down our survey results by age, we found that those that were between 54 and 64 found it the hardest to talk about mental health at 33%, whereas those between 18 and 24 found it the easiest at 80%. This is, this is a lot. And, the U.S. News and Report World Report released an article, right, stating that in 2022, which was the latest year they had the statistics available, that the suicide death rate among men was 22 fatalities per 100,000 people. That's compared to 5.9 among women. So 23 fatalities per 100,000 people compared to 5.9 among women. Why do you feel that the suicide rates for people in general, but especially men, are going back up?
I mean, all the statistics are there, right? And you think about the older generation, I think we just talked about it when we talked about not being able to have the space to really understand emotions, feelings, and not having to be the one that's supposed to take care of everything and man up. And if I can't take care of anything or everything, then that means that I'm less than. So what is my purpose here? That's literally some of the words that some men say. I don't know what I'm doing here if I can't provide. Like financially, if I'm not the breadwinner, if I'm not showing up. And then we have an exorbitant amount of conversations on social media, an exorbitant amount of conversations on TV where a man has to have this in order to be a man, right? And if he doesn't, then he is not a man. He's not worth anything. And even when it's sometimes healthy to say, make sure you're taking care of yourself, make sure you're shooting for goals, make sure that you can just manage yourself and just be able to get the things that you want. You have a good job, you have this, you have that, you're trying to achieve that. We often neglect how we feel to get what we want, to get to a certain status. So there's no emotional or psychological exploration of how I'm feeling because I don't have time to do that because I'm supposed to get the house, the car, and eventually get the girl. Right. So what happens in between that?
Right.
We don't really speak about it because, again, we didn't have the language. There wasn't any examples of speaking about it. And also historically, those 50, 60, 70 years old, they went through a different style of crises where vulnerability was not okay because we were talking about Jim Crow. We're talking about the 60s. We're talking about that. Like, how can I really talk about how I'm feeling when I need to survive?
Wow. Jesus, Lord.
Yeah.
So you feel like there really is not like much of a gap between everything you're saying, like, okay, I need to be a provider, I need to get the house, I need to get the car, I need to blah, 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 blah. There's really not that huge of a gap between like, okay, I can't, if I can't do this stuff, then why do I even need to be here? And then some of those people decide to take their lives. There's not like a big gap in between this and this.
Right, because we don't know, we're not given permission to really explore other things. Until
you mean other things as far as
just in general, like the things that I like.
Yeah.
Right? Like what do I like? Like if I'm not performing, if I'm stressed, historically, And a lot of people want to substance abuse, and that plays a huge part in that too, right?
Yeah.
That masks, that hides it. And people think that people who suffer from addiction are chasing a high. They're really running from a low.
Woo.
Facts.
Repeat that one. Repeat that for the people in the back. That's a good one.
They're not running to a high. They're running from a low, because if I'm sober, that means I'm experiencing, I'm dealing with all the things that frighten me, that harm me, that could potentially destroy me. So let me smoke, let me drink, so I don't have to feel. I can go numb.
Yeah. And then you wake up the next day and do it all over again. Yeah. That's definitely a thing. That's definitely a thing.
Wow.
Man, that's heavy. That's heavy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that in my pocket. I'm definitely gonna put that in my pocket, man.
There you go. I got it from somebody else from pocket. So
Yeah.
I was in the training, and the trainer said, I said, oh yeah, you're right. So
Yeah.
Because that's the truth. Okay. So how do we as people, whether, how do we support the men that's in our lives or whatever, with their mental health? This says normalize conversations by sharing experience. I think you mentioned that before to swing in, encourage them, when they do share, even if they share a little bit, encourage them, be supportive, provide a safe space for them to share, help raise awareness on men and mental health, even if they refuse, ask them twice, acknowledging if they are in a difficult situation. And beyond that, do you have any others that you would like to list on how, we are able to support men with their mental health? And two part to that, do you believe that it is better for men to kind of be surrounded by their loved ones or alone when they're kind of going through, any type of mental illnesses?
So I think there's two parts to that. I think how you show up for a man who's struggling with his mental health and you see it, right, is the first thing is to ask, is there anything that I can do to help you with the way you're feeling? Is there anything that you want to talk about? Is there any resource I can provide for you? I'm noticing this. If this is something, what can I do to support you, right? And sometimes even joining a man in some of his favorite activities or the things that he used to do helps create connection, right? That's developing that safe space, right? And when we try to ask and try to probe and try to force a man to jump out and talk about those emotions, that's sometimes more damaging than not saying anything at all.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't force anybody to be emotionally available or psychologically available or to re-traumatize themselves about something that's cyclical in their thoughts, right? So you provide a resource, right? Connecting them to people who are talking about it, right? I think we grow in community. Like there, as we do men's groups, every once in a while, somebody asks me to come speak and everybody's like, yeah, we need that. But then everybody drops the ball. Everybody goes to their separate lives.
Yeah.
We need to have this consistently. And it's the same conversation each time. Everybody has responsibilities and not everybody has the same capacity, availability. So how do you create community where there's growth, right? And if a person, I don't think isolation is always key, but isolation is a choice because, again, that's where safety looks like to them. Right? If I show that I am struggling, that means that you don't trust me to be who you need to be, who you need me to be. And that also shows that I'm not worthy of being in a position as a man, right? But if I tell them, hey, let's stay connected, right? You don't need to do anything for me. I just need to be beside you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is this a space where I can just sit beside you and then we can just share? And then so I'm not sitting in the darkness by myself. So I know at least I have a partner. And when I'm ready to share that and say, you know what? I see you've been rocking with me for a minute. You've been supportive. You haven't pushed me. You haven't tried to force me, but I see that you're here. So that means I can trust you.
Yeah, that goes a long way.
Wanda Thorpe has a question. So she wanted to know, how do we as girlfriends, life partners, or wives can help lighten the burden for our men? Like, what can we do to help?
So we are very observant, right? So, and I think women are too, right? The girlfriends, the life partners, the wives, very observant, but make sure that you're paying attention to the gaps, right? The things you can take something off the plate. right? How do you make your partner's day a little bit easier? What is one of the responsibilities that he's expected to do, but sometimes you step it up? Or the things that he needs that he feels like this feels like a partnership as opposed to me just running everything or doing everything, right? How curious about me are you from the time you wake up into the time we go to sleep? Are you invested in some of the things that I need? It's a check-in. Like, what is something I did? When's the last time I did something that made you feel really good? Just asking that question and then investigating and then investing in that. Right. That's what partnership looks like. Because again, if we're conditioned to be the priority, a provider, we're always looking to make sure that everyone else is okay. And we feel like everybody's really looking to make sure we're okay, because that's not anybody else's job but ours.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Ja Bay says, when you force us to talk, you are taking from us. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You are, again, you're trying to control the scenario when we need a space to be able to free to share what we need to share, right? We need to still have a sense of autonomy and be like, all right, this is a place where I can share it and I don't feel like it's forced. Because when it's forced, I'm not really connected to it.
Right.
And I'm more resentful and angry that I have to do that. This is not something that I really want to do that. This is something that I'm forced. So when I used to see, I used to go to alternative schools, right? And I used to work with all the teen Black boys because I know they needed the space. But our first 3 sessions, I didn't really force them to do something. We might be playing Uno, we might be playing Madden, we might be just talking about regular stuff, and I'm developing a relationship. And then finally was like, you know what? I can trust you.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to force them to, I need you to write this. I need you to tell me this. It wasn't that. Sometimes we just listen to music and I'm just getting the vibe and getting to understand what they like. And then we just put on an instrumental and we just write and we're developing a relationship. I'm developing trust. And that's how they open up.
Yeah. I think I've always said, just be around me. We don't have to talk. We can sit in silence. Just be around me. And then, as you mentioned, eventually, that door will crack open. Mm-hmm. And then maybe a little bit will squeak out. Or maybe you get Niagara Falls. We don't know. But, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, like, as Josh said, if you force it, then we're not doing it for us. We're doing it to satisfy you. And that shouldn't be the goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another task, right? And we're already task heavy, right? So now it's a task for me to talk to you because you are forcing me to tell you what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, and I gotta just check something else on the list.
Wow. Yeah. So what about if you have your male partner and you can actively see that he's going through something, right? And you do try to be there for them. Maybe you ask how they're feeling or whatever the case is, and they're pushing you away. But they're pushing you away and then act like not violent, but they are literally like, leave me alone. Leave me alone. I don't want to talk about it. I don't care. But you guys are married or you guys live together or whatever the case is, and you see this person on a regular basis that's going through these things. You don't want to be like, okay, well, you said leave me alone. Fine, I'm gonna leave you alone and just let him go on about his business because you love this person and you care about this person. But if they're not willing to kind of like let you in at any point, like, what do you do? Like, how do you manage still, and especially if there's kids involved too, dad's walking around here and he's mad at the world, and he's not talking to me as the wife or whatever the case is, and he's angry, but he doesn't want to seek help, doesn't want to talk to me. And how do you navigate that as a woman that's in that situation? Because you don't want to see your partner one day just decide to not come home and he's took his life. But if he's actively pushing you away, then what do you do in a situation like that?
Well, part of that is hopefully you don't get to the point where you're not a safe space. And so excuse me, he hasn't allowed you to be in any space where he can be vulnerable or share what's upset, right? Because we developed something, right, in our relationships, in our marriages, where people start to slowly feel pull away because we haven't been receptive, we haven't been available, we haven't shown any type of empathy or connection. And so why should I bring my pain to a person that's causing it, right?
Yeah.
So you talk about that, we kind of uncover that part. But if you're in that space and you feel like you haven't really disrupted the space where you want to be connected, again, the other stuff we just talked about, like what is something, even if you don't want to talk about that, I see that, how can I support you in this moment, right? I know you don't want to talk about that, but is there anything else I can do for you? Right? They're saying, no, don't do anything. There's still always some things that we can do for our partners, right? We can make them some food, right? And just know, I know you said you're not hungry, but here's something. What are the things that they like, right? Maybe you start to invest in some of those things, like just some of those, the favorite things that they like. They have to find bright spots, right? So paying attention to that, because a lot of times when men push away, they feel like, again, if I show you something or if I come into that space and I got to tell you what's wrong, they also feel like they're not seen. And it develops, right? Because there has to be several things that have happened for them to get to that space.
Right.
What happened the first time I said to you that they was acting crazy on the job, my boss was talking to me crazy and my coworkers talking to me crazy. Were you empathetic towards that? You was like, you know what? And were you a teammate? Or did you say, you don't worry about that, you just got to suck it up? Or did you say, well, did you consider them? They probably felt this way because you know how you are sometimes, right? You're no longer an ally at that point.
Yeah.
You are a part of their team and you're against us. So when I am vulnerable, when everything, and it feels like the world is against me and I don't have a safe space in my marriage, I don't have a safe space with my partner, then why would I trust you when you really see me down? Because you're part of the people who are pushing me down.
Wow. Oh, okay. Swangins' power just went out, flashed out. So yeah, it's storming over here too. So hopefully mine's will stay on here, but hopefully he'll be back in. But yeah, no, I totally get that. I totally understand that. And as Miss Lonnie said, that safe space is key. And it really and truly is. I think that for men, a lot of men do feel like they just don't have that safe space. They feel like they don't have the safe space to be able to communicate and talk about the problems that they're going through and how they're really truly feeling. And sometimes it can even, and sometimes, okay, so let me ask you this, right? So I know you're saying in some of those situations where they really haven't or don't feel comfortable coming to you or talking to you, it might have been something that's happened, whereas they showed you something or they asked you something in the past and you kind of, like when you were just talking about the whole situation with the boss or whatever, that's one situation or one scenario. But is it possible that you have been there and you would have been there if they had opened themselves up to you, but because of what they experienced in their childhood or what they adopted from that, they've never really felt comfortable even bringing that up to you, even though you maybe they've always kind of had that struggle even in your relationship. You understand what I'm saying? Like, absolutely. Yeah. So
that's what I mean. It's not always the partner's responsibility, and they're not always at fault. And if a man is in that space where they've consistently, traditionally, have not been able to share their feelings, then that's where we offer resources.
Yeah.
I know you may not trust me, but check this out, right? I'm really concerned. I don't want you to hurt yourself. I'm really worried. I know you don't want me to fix. I know you don't want me to know, but is there anybody that you feel like you can trust, that you can talk to about this?
Yeah.
Because I see you.
And I think in that situation, you have to be, as a woman in that situation, you have to be prepared to not take it personal. Mm-hmm. Because if he says, I feel like I can't talk to you, but I can talk to my boy, mm-hmm. he might even be afraid to say that because he might feel like he might get backlash from you. Like, oh, you can't talk to me, but you can talk to your boy. Like, what's that about? You know what I'm saying? So I do think that is really important as
I think she may be hit with the same storm.
Are we here?
Yeah.
Oh my God. This
yeah, I literally just
storm
went black real quick.
Oh,
well,
Lord.
I am black, but I did Wi-Fi went out.
Listen, I need the storm to let us be great. Okay, wait a minute. Hold up.
This is a great show.
This is a good show. You can't be doing this right now.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into this too, because now we're going to shift gears. Okay, we've kind of talked about, oh, my lights are flickering. We've kind of talked about, what mental health is, mental illnesses, asking for help. We talked about, suicide, all that type of stuff. Let's now kind of shift gears and talk about some tips. Let's talk about some advice and some ways that, men can actually work on their mental health. If they decide they don't want to go and see a therapist, or they want to start incorporating some things on their own in order to, work on their mental health. So of course, there's a list of some of them, maybe like some exercise, like regular physical exercise can improve your mood, depression, anxiety, sleep, get your sleep in, eating well, practicing relaxation, maybe some meditation, deep breathing, yoga, staying connected, social engagement with your friends, family, good friends, good family, be selective, focus on positivity, set some goals, reduce your screen time. Don't be scrolling all the damn time, reduce coffee, consider therapy, and consider your work. Beyond those, what are some other things that you would like to add to that, as well as some things that you've actually done in your life that you feel have been very helpful?
Yeah, I think self-exploration is important, and journaling is important too, and not to put so much stress in what journaling looks like. I think people think it needs to look a certain way, like it has to have a certain script, but journaling can just be a brain dump. Journaling can get some of your thoughts that are that you're ruminating on, you're constantly thinking about, and just getting them on paper and ask yourself, do I even need to deal with that, right? Or how do I put that on a list? How do I prioritize that? Also, when you're looking at your day, how do you prioritize yourself? What is the first thing you do when you first wake up? How do you ask yourself, what do I need today? Or what do I need from the people that I trust, right? You have to be selective on who you give your information to. Because again, we can open up, but if we open up to the wrong person, it's going to cause another scar, another wound. Mm-hmm. So some of the things that I learned to do is to, again, re-explore the things that I used to do, right? Basketball, I used that for exercise, and I didn't expect myself to be how I used to be because body ain't responding the way it used to. I did a whole 31-day self-care when I first opened up my practice, and I was literally burnt out. I was overwhelmed. I was having some depressive thoughts and moods and stuff like that. It was a complete shift from everything. So I said, you know what? Let me make sure that I'm good. Let me check in, and I'm just for 31 days, I'm going to try something new or something that I used to do to see if that helps, right? So that somebody said that, give yourself permission. Yes, it's so important to give yourself permission because we don't. And what I did was I went and test drove a car that was a dream car, right? And I said, do I really want this car? Is it something I really wanted? I created a playlist. One was new school. One was like chill music. One was relaxing music. One was old school ratchet music, right? And I drove and I just listened to the music and I kind of vibed to my old stuff that I used to listen to, right? I gave myself permission to do that. I called somebody that I hadn't talked to in a long time to catch up. One of my homeboys that I went to college with, and we just laughed, on the phone talking about old stuff. Like that was part of my self-care. So I was really exploring different things. Like I said, exercise, changing eating habits, trying a new recipe, and not giving myself a hard time if it didn't taste good, right? Just having fun with different things. We're too critical of ourselves. So I need to give myself a break. So how do you give yourself a break and not expect yourself to get everything perfect, right? And sometimes we just gotta laugh and laugh at ourselves. It's like, that was crazy. I just did that, and just and not beat myself up about it, right?
Yeah.
So spiritual connection, right? How important is spiritual connection, to revisit that if that's your thing. But yeah, and then talking to people really what you want to talk about, because sometimes people that care about us want to lead the conversation about us.
Right.
Yeah.
Say,
They
I know you
hijack
care about me. Yeah. So like, can we just talk? I know you care about me. You're a safe space. I just want to talk about this. Maybe eventually we'll get to that, but let's just have a conversation. And again, create community. It's important to create community. Like, find your people. Who is your homeboy, your tribe that you trust, that you can go out with, your homegirl, your friends, your family? Who are those people? And maybe ask them, what do you think I need right now?
I mean, and for those people, I mean, like, we didn't really touch on it, but therapy. I mean, like, I just feel like there's such a big, huge stigma with going to therapy.
Yeah.
So maybe you can give some advice on that. I mean, you're a psychotherapist. I mean, maybe you can give some advice on not looking at going to therapy as a negative, or getting past your thoughts about therapy that you may have received as a young person, or like your friends being like, oh, that's for weak people or whatever. What advice would you give when it comes down to actually seeking therapy? Because sometimes we can do all the things that you mentioned and what was on the slide, but sometimes it's so deep rooted that after we do all those things, and in our darkest moments, and when we're by ourselves and it's quiet, everything just still continues to come back up, because it hasn't really been resolved and looked at the root
Right.
cause.
So it's interesting. Traditionally, when men come to therapy, there are several reasons, right? Some come because they say they don't really know what to do, and because nothing they're doing is working. So maybe they need to explore a little bit deeper. Some come because somebody said, hey, man, you should try out therapy, or that my lights are going down.
Oh, Lord.
We
almost done. Just let us get through.
The Democrats are controlling the weather, man.
They not let us be great.
And then some men come to therapy, say, I just come to therapy just to be heard. This is the only place where I can just come vent and I'm not judged, right? My information that I share doesn't get released to the public and doesn't get used against me.
Right.
Right. And then you look like somebody I can relate to. You look like you've been through some of the things that I've been through. And also how you're talking to me, you're just creating an environment that's finally for me.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest things that you said. Like, I think a lot of people think going to therapy and talking to a therapist, you lay on a couch and you just pour out your life, and then they give you advice and stuff, but you can really create it to be the space how you need it to be. You really can just go in there and, like, in this moment, I need you to just listen, and then maybe you guys work your way up to where, you're willing and open for them actually to kind of, communicate as well and give some advice too. But like you said, I mean, I think that people don't understand that, talking to a therapist doesn't necessarily have to look this way or how it looked for somebody else. You can still create it in a sense the way that you want it to be. But having somebody, because sometimes it's like if we have family or friends or our significant other, we're afraid of being judged or afraid of, it getting past you done told your mom and now your mom done told your dad, now your dad done told blah, or something like that. So it's like it gives you pause on talking to other people. But when you talk to a therapist, majority of times you don't even know this person. They have confidentiality rules. And so you're able to kind of just get it out. And sometimes that's really, I'm not saying all that it takes, but sometimes you can't even fathom how much lighter you feel when you just get it out. Just talking about it, it's like it comes out.
Yeah, they've been carrying it for so long. And finally, they're able to let it go or process it the way they need to process. And some men, they come in and say, I just need your perspective because I want to know if I'm doing this right. Or sometimes we need to be checked, right? It's like, yo, let me know if I'm making the right decision. I feel I am, but it's not, maybe not landing right. I just want to make sure that I'm moving differently, right? And I'm making it right.
And I think a lot of times I've known people that have been going to therapy for a while, and they may be getting the help that they need, but at the same time, it really doesn't matter how long you've been going. It's how you use it. A lot of people, just the same way they do with friends and family, they give them a little portion. They don't give them the whole spill. So if you're not giving someone, and that's on the individual.
Yeah.
If you're not really opening up yourself truly, then the therapist can't help you.
Yeah.
Your friends and family can't help you. So you have to actually look inside of yourself and decide, what kind of help do I really want? Or maybe I don't need help. Maybe I just need an ear. Yeah. Because sometimes that's all we need is just the ear. We don't need anyone to solve. We don't need anyone to create a pathway. We just want to get it out. And it's a verbal journal, I guess. You know, because again, writing it down is great and it helps. But to just be able to speak to someone and say, hey, as you said, do you think I'm getting this right? Do you think I'm getting this wrong? They can have their judgment, but then I guess you have to pay attention to your audience too. And that's your own discernment at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember a man said to me years ago, he said, therapy is the only place where I don't get interrupted.
Bam.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So Miss Lonnie has a question. She wants to know, how do we move our Black men to get the therapy? She says white men have no problem with therapy.
Yeah, and again, that goes back to, well, to answer the first part of it, is keep having these conversations, right? The more we reveal, the more we model that it's okay to do these things, to have these conversations, the more people are invested. The more right people are talking about it, the more men will get invested. Like the more that we know that it's okay to not be okay and to address what you're feeling and explore your thoughts and your previous experience. That's how we get it, because we tend to model those who we look up to and also model those who we have access to. And also when you talk about white men, they haven't really had any bad medical experiences, right? As children, they were told to go to therapy as little boys. Like when we went to therapy as little boys, it was a punishment.
Yeah.
You're going to therapy because you don't know how to act.
Yeah.
Right.
Not because you have some things that you're going through and this is a place for you to talk about it. You need to go to therapy so you get yourself together. And then you're with the therapist that is culturally insensitive and doesn't really understand Black culture. And now you're having a negative experience with a therapist. And that goes for doctors. Again, we're the most misdiagnosed. The way women are treated, Black women are treated in the medical field, like just historically, we just haven't had any good experiences until we get more competent, more African-American people of color in that space. Then it becomes more intriguing to go to. And again, right now, Black male therapists are 1% of the field. 1%.
Wow.
1%?
1%. And just Black therapists in general, we're 4% of the field, right? There was a lot of different things that was preventing us from even getting in the field. Then we have licensing exams that aren't culturally competent, that don't really connect to us and leave us out in some of the literature. And a lot of previous, I guess, teaching and theoretical theories and modalities and all that didn't include us, and they harm us. So why would I go into a field that is set to harm us? Like there was there was a diagnosis way back in the day called drapetomania, and drapetomania meant that you were a slave trying to escape. That means you had a diagnosis. You had a clinical diagnosis, a mental illness, because you were trying to escape slavery. So why would you go into that field, right? But now we're challenging the systems, we're challenging the things that are against us, and more people are getting into it. And we're having more and more conversations. Like I mentor a lot of different Black clinicians that are looking or on the way to becoming clinicians. I promote the field. I try to get people more into it because we need us.
Yeah. Yes, 100%. Makisha has a question. She says, regardless of race, do you think ego and pride play a part in Black men not going to therapy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that is a protection mechanism, right? Ego, again, if we talk about the fear, because behind the ego is the fear of being vulnerable, right? The last time that I wasn't in protective mode, I was harmed. So my ego won't let me be vulnerable because I'm traditionally have to rescue, save the day, and being vulnerable means less than, right? Pride also. Why would I show up? Like, why would I don't need that, right? I'm not weak. I'm not a sucker. I'm not soft. We tell ourselves these different things because we don't really understand what it means to get help, to be supported. Right. But also, I'm not going to say that you can't see a white clinician, because some of the white clinicians are very culturally competent and are amazing at what they do. But we still need more representation in the field.
Definitely.
Yeah. Man, no, I mean, I totally agree with that because, I mean, sorry, it's a lot out there. I'm like, I didn't even know.
I hear it too.
Yeah. But listen, wow, we can go on and on about this topic, and I really am passionate about it, because I just feel like, and especially with everything that's going on now with the, election stuff and just the world in general, man, like, I mean, I really truly feel like men, along with, women, kids, all of that, really have to find their own space of things that they do that brings them happiness, peace, and joy every single day. Like, I feel, I know for me as a woman, I try to make sure that there are certain things that I do every single day that I enjoy doing. I look forward to those things, so regardless of what's going on around my world, in my individual bubble, like, I know I'm getting up in the morning, I'm listening to my affirmations. I know I'm meditating at some point. I know I'm going to the gym at some point. I know that I'm mindful of what I put in my body. I know that I'm going to read at some point, and these have been things that I've created that are small things, but that really help me to feel like, okay, these are just for me. These are my little things, and I don't let anybody in those little spaces. When I do those things, they are just for me. And I think that is something that's really important for men to kind of find some, even if it's like 2 or 3 things that is just theirs. And in that space, it's kind of like, hey, don't nobody come in. I'm in my space. I'm doing my thing. And this is something that I do that brings me joy, whether it's exercising or, reading a book, playing golf, all those different types of things. Because sometimes, yes, having community is great. Having friends and family and therapy is great. But I feel like we are in control of ourselves. Like, I got me. And at the end of the day, I am the only person that has to go to sleep with myself. I have to look in the mirror. When I leave my friends, family, and everyone, I'm by myself. Do I go back to that space of feeling depressed, unhappy, or whatever when I leave the friends and family? And that's what I think is also another big thing that is important for people, we're talking about men, but people in general, to focus on. Finding things that's just specifically, just for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna jump in because I don't go to the gym. I don't work out, but I find myself just silence is my thing. Even if I can have the TV on, it's still silent to me. You know what I'm saying? I can have music playing, but it's still silent to me. And that's my ground wire. That's where I get grounded. But I have heard that, maybe I do it too much. Maybe I don't do it enough, or maybe I do it too much because that's what I hear. But again, that's my space to recalibrate. So it could be looked at as selfish, but I tell people all the time, there's nothing wrong with being selfish. As long as you're not hurting the people that, your family, your friends, and so on and so forth, it's okay to be selfish, because if you're not selfish, then you're drained. You can't pour out of an empty cup. Right. And I think a lot of men, we have like a swallow left in the bottle, so to speak.
Yeah. And there's a difference between selfish and neglect, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be, and we've glamorized self-care when self-care is making a decision to be about self, which a negative connotation to it is we're saying you're being selfish when really making sure I'm a priority.
Right.
So but again, if it's not hurting anyone else, and you have told people this is the space that you need, right, to recalibrate. This is the space that you need to rejuvenate. This is the space that you need for yourself, right? That is okay, right? It's not stonewalling. It's not ignoring. It's not neglecting. Right. It's saying, this is what I need in this particular space. I hope you honor that. And if you don't honor that, then that's developing. That's letting me know that you don't honor me, right? And so now, because you can't give me what I need and I can't give myself what I need, then I'm not going to be able to show up for you.
Right. I totally agree. We got one more great big, hold on. Makisha says, this is a lot. Okay, so Mr. Williams, as a Black woman coming into life coaching, what advice would you give me as a mother of 2 young Black men and wanting to see other Black men get counseling and therapy that they may need? What advice could you give me to give these young Black men of mine to seek that help when they need it? She says, I hope it makes sense. I'm driving and texting. Don't drive and text.
Right. It's raining outside.
Yeah. But I think that's what we were talking about earlier, is getting them around the people or getting the influence of the people who are already doing it, right? And also getting them connected to like-minded people, because again, we follow models, right? If we see somebody that is helping somebody else, we might explore that. If we're allowed to have that space and giving ourselves permission, and not saying that nothing's wrong with you, but I want you to have a space for yourself, then go ahead and explore that, right? Or if like you're talking about your kids, then you know what they've been through. So you're telling them, hey, I know you've been through this. I don't know how you're dealing with it, but I want to make sure that you're dealing with it properly. Maybe you can get connected to a therapist. Maybe you can kind of process that so you're not dealing with it the wrong way, or it's not impacting your growth.
Definitely. Miss Lonnie said that she had 2 brain surgeries and had to learn how to be very selfish yet sensitive. Wow. Mm-hmm. Prayers and happiness that you are doing well.
Yeah, what is Miss Lonnie?
Yes, definitely. Listen, so I mean, like I said, we can talk about this all night long. I am just thankful that we're all still here because everybody's lights flickering. Right. I'm praying my Wi-Fi do not go out because it's gonna be like lights out. But we're like I said, this is part 1, and I want this to be a series. So I definitely want to continue to talk about this. We'll definitely bring you back. I know we're gonna be talking to we have a lady coming up. Oh, Lord. Okay, let me just hurry.
God said wrap it up, goddamn it.
Is there anything else that you would like to share? Any other advice that you would like to give to any of the men or anybody that's listening in regards to this topic before we get out of here?
Yeah, I would just say give yourself the permission to seek what you need, to have that space. Talking to a therapist is not a sign of weakness. Talking to a therapist is a sign of strength, right? And don't get discouraged if the first therapist doesn't work out. It's like dating. You got to find the one that fits for you. So yeah, it's out there. I know people think it's super expensive. You can go through your insurance. Your insurance typically covers it. You may have a copay, you may not, right? There are different resources out there that provide free services like the Boris Henson Foundation, Clinicians of Color, EAP through your job. If you contact them and know your employer doesn't need to know that you're going to see a therapist, you're just getting the EAP that's connected through a service, but not connected, but telling your job what's going on. And again, also, you don't have to do it alone.
Yes, 100%. You definitely don't have to do it alone. I mean, even if it means just finding someone, someone to talk to, because I mean, it has to, to keep all that bottled up, you can think that you are, isolating and staying to yourself, and this is the way that you've always done it. But I will say that I'm for sure, and I'm not a man, but I know for women, as we age and get older, the internal stress kills. We don't even realize what's going on inside, but we might not be talking about it, but the internal stress slowly kills. So for men that's keeping it inside, even if they're like, oh no, I wouldn't think about killing myself, I wouldn't think about suicide, but the internal stress of that, is slowly killing. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, all that type of stuff is, it's a silent, deadly killer. So definitely, reach out to somebody and talk about that. Makisha said, thank you, Owen Swangen, because this has been very helpful for me. Much love to Mr. Williams as well for sharing his knowledge, and I look forward to the next segment. We love you so much, Makisha. And Miss Lonnie says, yes, it does. And here's the last slide, which I feel like is extremely important. This is Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. No matter where you are, live in the United States, you can easily access it 24/7 emotional support. Just call or text 988 or visit 988lifeline.org/chat to chat with a caring counselor. If you are having any of those thoughts or just want to talk to somebody, definitely reach out to that. And listen, Bashea, we have thoroughly enjoyed you second time being on our show. I know everyone has enjoyed you too. Let everybody know how they can, follow you. I'll put that up there, and I guess you can just go ahead and read off of there. But
everything social media is Bashea Williams. Everything social media, and I have my links when you go to my IG, Bashea Williams. My website for counseling is Hearts and Mind Counseling. Personal email is BasheaWilliams@gmail.com. My phone number for therapy and resources is 202-570-1148. So stay connected. Even if you just follow me on IG, I give scenarios, do some transparency, storytelling, and stuff like that. So, and I also provide resources there. So, yeah.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Yes. Thank you, God, for letting us get through this show. Right. Again, we thank you so very much for coming on. I mean, I love your wisdom. I love your energy. I want to bring you back on again to talk about everything relationship, because I love, Dear Wifey. I know one of our Crystal, she knew you from Dear Wifey. Definitely want to bring you on and talk about that, because I solely believe that we just got to get these relationships together. We got to get these Black families together. We got to get the marriages back together, the families. There's such a huge disconnect. So you guys will see Bashea again, because we're going to bring him back on, and we're going to have him talk about that aspect, because that's extremely important. Wanda Thorpe said, mad respect to you all. Amazing show and top-notch information. Looking forward to the next episode in this series. Shelly Barksdale said, great show, guys. Very informative. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And if you haven't followed us, well, we're going to let you go, Bashea, because you've been with us for so long. But thank you again. Thank you so much again for coming on.
You, brother.
We
All right.
appreciate you.
Anytime. I'll see y'all next time.
Have a good night. Oh Lord, my lights is just.
Yeah, the
Look,
Democrats, man.
They're like, it's
Democrats
time.
fucking with the weather.
I feel like a disco.
Right. You flashing like shit over there.
But look, I'm scared because I'm like, is it my lights or is this lightning? Because I do not do storms. Y'all will see Miss O run, and I will be gone because I'm gonna buy all these windows and I don't do storms. But yes, this was the show that I had visioned in my head, and I try. Y'all don't even understand how much I push back tears because it's such a big thing for me, and so the next part 2 of this series is we're going to be talking to Cleona Terry, and she's going to be discussing women's mental health, children, and families. And so we're going to be bringing her on. She's going to be on in I think it's the first or second week in December. So we're going to bring her on and we're going to talk about women, families and children. But this is something that is really dear to my heart because we don't talk about it enough. We do like 1 month of mental health month or whatever, and we just move on. But it's so important. Yeah, it's so important because everything is tied to your mental. Like it really is. It really is.
I don't think there's not enough information out there. We might talk about it, sparingly, but it's not driven home as much as all this other stuff that really doesn't affect us individually. This affects us individually. So
exactly.
This is something that I do think that I'm happy we're going to bring it back in the next 2 weeks, but it's not going to stop there.
No, it's not. And for me, again, we also are going to be continuously doing shows that are specifically for men, because like I said, I'm sorry, I'm a woman. I love being a woman, but everything really does, focus on us. Everything focuses on the women. And just talking to Bashea and listening to him as far as how like men just really and truly feel like they were put here to just be providers and protectors and, pay the bills and the hell with how you feel. It is all about me pouring into you and your life, and who cares about how I feel. Women, I think the biggest takeaway from tonight is the silent is like paying attention to what's not being said. Yeah. Like you're around your partner, you talk to your partner, you see your partner. It's looking at the cues in his behavior, different things that's not being said. Because you can easily ask your man, are you happy? Are you good? Are you fine? And he can say, I'm good. I'm fine. I don't need anything. Yeah. But you have to pay attention. And like Bashea said, even if he says he's good and he's not really open to you helping, find ways to help him, whether it means making his dinner for him or his favorite meal, or just laying with him or sitting with him or sitting in.
And just like it was said earlier, and I know I've been this way probably my entire life, like silence is the best learning tool. You don't have to, everything doesn't have to be said. Right. You can pay attention in silence. Right. And just like he said, when he was working with the youth, he would go in the first couple of sessions, he didn't even say anything. He just played games, or he played Madden, or they listen to music. And that's how you build sometimes. Yeah. You don't, like all the questions, I think Ja had mentioned earlier, like at that point, you're asking me questions and I'm answering it for your benefit, and it has nothing to do with what's going on with me. I just have to answer, because if I don't, it's going to be a problem.
And I think, ladies, the biggest thing to take away from this that I took away from this is, working on what I took away from this as a woman dealing with a man and men in my life, I took away that, it's very important for us to work on our emotional intelligence. It's very important for us to learn how to know when silence is important, to not be able to take certain things personal, to just kind of know when sometimes, hey, even if I'm feeling a certain way and I want to get this out and I need to talk about this or whatever the case is, understanding your man and what he's going through and just feeling the energy and understanding the energy. Like right now is not the time. I might got a lot of shit on my mind, but that shit might be needed to be discussed with my girlfriend or my mama, because my man can't take it because my man already got a lot of stuff going on. So my man just needs me to sit in silence with him. He just needs me there. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's because we're so emotional. We're so communicative. We like to, baby, what's wrong? Okay, well, let's talk about it. We can fix it. Do you need me to do something? Is it my fault? Did I do it? And then that is just actually adding more stress to him. So
because it's making it about you at that point.
Yeah, you're making it about you. Yeah. So I think that is definitely, Makisha, silence is language all by itself. And I think that, what I'm taking away from this, because I took a whole lot from this topic tonight, is that, we truly have to listen to what's not being said, because a lot of our men really are having a lot of internal battles and they just really struggle with getting it out. And I feel like, from based off of what Bashea said, is that when they do feel like it's a safe space to bring it out, they will. But if they feel like it's not a safe space to bring it out with you, they're not going to. And so I think that it definitely means learning your partner, understanding his energy and the space he's in at that particular moment, and being able to give him what he needs without it being about you. Yeah. And I think that that's very important.
And I love what Crystal just said. Yes, emotional intelligence is very important. She said, I teach others to think about, and I've said this for eons, facts over feelings.
Yeah.
Facts over feelings. Yeah. You can't bring your feelings to every battle or every conversation. The facts is always going to resonate over the feelings unless you weaponize your feelings.
Yeah. And Jabe also said, also knowing what I have to say will be discussed between us and not used in an argument later. That's huge. That's huge, because that's also another reason why a lot of men and there's some women that's like, okay, well, men do it. We're not talking about us today, babies. Babies, my lovies, my honeys. It's not our day. It's not.
There's somebody out there.
It's not our day. It's all about the men. And yes, that is true. They are not going to feel comfortable talking to us about things that's inside, that's eating them up and bothering them, being vulnerable if they feel like it's going to be used, down the road in some argument, you're going to throw it at them. That's like the actual worst that you could ever do, because they will never tell you anything else.
Ever. And then it'll be and then that'll just snowball effect. It will literally just snowball effect. And it will always come back to him.
Yeah.
Because it's been going on for so long that the original snowflake is forgot about.
Yep.
But however, with all of that being said, and all of that is true, we still have to have some accountability as well. And as much as we want that listening ear and that silence and that support and that safe space, we have to create it. And sometimes, and I'm pretty sure, I have walked away from some things, but I walked away from it because I understand that I'm not going to get what I need here. So there's no need in fighting a battle long term when you already see the forest before the trees.
Listen, I get it. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, all of us, you know, like whether it's like Makisha asking questions in regards, you know, for her sons, or whether it's Wanda asking questions for about her husband, you know, for her husband or whatever. I think that at the end of the day, it genuinely does mean about, you know, understanding your partner and giving them the things that they need, also while actively continuing to work on yourself as an individual, so you are able to not take certain things personally, know when to give them the space they need, know when to give them, you know, whatever they need in that space. But it's also, like you just said, your partner also taking some accountability too, because like I mentioned to Bashea, you know, there are some that literally will push you away and do it in a negative way, that literally would be like, get out my face, I'm fine, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And that point, if you're giving me horrible energy, it's in that space as a woman, sometimes it's very hard to think, okay, well, I need to be thoughtful and I need to care about how you're feeling, and I need to, no, at that point, you now I'm looking at you like, who you talking to? So I mean, you know, it takes both parties, and it takes both parties actively doing individual work individual work to be able to come together in a partnership and grow together. It really does. I mean, both people have to do individual work and then do work as a relationship together in a relationship.
Emotional intelligence is what's needed by all.
Yeah, I agree. So listen, this has been, I won't say this has been fun. It has been fun, but this has been what I wanted it to be, informative.
Yes,
you know, that's what we said here on the Miss O Show. You know, we're not that podcast. It's just going to be sitting here talking about man versus women and all this other mess that's going on here. When people say, well, what is your podcast about? It's really about, you know, talking about topics that are really affecting us as individuals in our community, but also figuring out ways that we can actively, you know, work on it.
Solutions.
Come together as as a community. Yeah. Work on ourselves as you got the whole is
the wind is blowing, man. The wind is blowing.
Look at like Dorothy over there. What is happening? Let me find out your ass grade fly through the window.
That joint just came in all nice and calm and shit.
Like, what is happening? What is that? Yo, swinging your ray fly through the window like damn Dorothy. This is what I'm saying. I just think that we
Clark Kent Superman now. Clark Kent Superman now. Once this show is over, I gotta go save the world, man.
That's another thing you're gonna get on the Miss O Show. We are listen, it's unorthodox. You never know what's gonna happen. We're not cutting shit. We're not chopping it up. You get the raw, uncut version of what it is.
Live and in color.
But yes, again, so we thank everybody for tuning in. The next show will be in December. I can't remember if it's I think it's the first Wednesday in December, but
so that's the 4th.
That's the 4th, yes. And that's when we're going to bring on Cleona Terry. And she's going to be talking about, this is going to be part 2 of our series, and she's going to be talking about women's mental health, kids, and families. And, you know, that's going to be a great show too. So definitely make sure that you guys tune in to that, so that you can stay abreast of everything that we have going on and all of our, you know, shows that we have coming up. Make sure that you subscribe to our Facebook, our YouTube channel. That is like, make sure you subscribe. Just please.
Subscribe, like.
Can we get? I think we got like. Did we get one like? I mean, listen. I feel like we truly entertain you guys. Like, it is so much work that goes into these shows, and I really don't feel like it doesn't cost you to subscribe. It doesn't cost you to share. It does not cost you to, you know, any of that.
Notifications for when the show.
It does not. It does not. It does not. But I feel like if we are putting the effort in to bring you these type of shows and topics, you guys can definitely give us a subscribe, a share, a comment. So the Facebook, I mean, you came on through YouTube. If you did, it's the Miss O Show. So the Miss O Show. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, please. Okay, subscribe to our channel, share it. like. Can we get some likes? Thank you. The likes are going up. Thank you for the likes. We
There you go.
appreciate the likes.
Appreciate the likes. Appreciate
Yes,
the likes.
definitely appreciate the likes.
Everybody like to be
also,
liked.
You know, we have a Facebook page that is, I think, Miss O Show. Yeah, the Facebook page is Miss O Show. Make sure you go on there and also like that, share, and you can follow me on Instagram at Paris K Style. It's at the bottom at Paris K Style. And how can they follow you, Swinging?
Before I say that, Crystal, don't come from my background. I just blurred it out this time. I'm looking for. I was about to be on the beach tonight.
I know, because Crystal, wait a minute.
From the conversation,
you know what, Crystal? I just realized that he must have moved. He got sick and moved out of his penthouse apartment. Crystal, I just realized that. I'm glad you reminded me of that because we supposed to get over
it's gonna be
house.
But at the end of the day, you can check me out on IG, swinging_shenanigans, because that's what it is. Facebook, it is Marco Baggins. Matter of fact, I need to change that TikTok one because it's now Marco Baggins as well. That dude be swinging, got banned for whatever reason. I don't know why.
We know it's probably a valuable reason, we're sure.
But at the same time, Marco Baggins, Facebook, TikTok, swinging_shenanigans, IG. I do have a Twitter. I refuse to call it X. And a couple of more social medias that I'm going to drop on my Facebook page. So you all will see that. But that's all I got.
Well, again, listen, we thank you guys so very much for tuning in. I mean, if you guys didn't tune in, it'd just be me and Swangin' talking to ourselves, you know? And I mean, it would be okay because we're here have our little drinks and stuff, and we've been here talking to each other for a whole hour.
That's my dog.
That is so much fun with you guys. And so we just thank everybody for tuning in, chiming in the comments. Miss Lonnie, Crystal, let's see here. We had Wanda, we had Jabe, we had Makisha, Shelly, everybody. If I missed you, I'm sorry. But yeah, thank you so much. And also drop some comments. Let us know what you want us to talk about. If you have a subject or a topic that you would love for us to discuss and talk about, drop that, because here's the thing. When we do shows that we bring guests on, we typically do not bring the listeners on. But when we just have a straight up topic, we will bring you on to the show. It's called Drop the Link. We will drop the link, we'll bring you on, and then you will actually be a part of the show. And then you can kind of chime in and talk about it too. So let us know what you want to hear. Let us know the topics that you want to hear as well.
And I want to say one more thing before we dip out. I just got to kind of find a little something. But I do want to give a big shout out to Shelly. Because Shelly sat up there and was sharing every post for this show on TikTok.
Oh my God.
She was killing it, and I appreciate you for that. And check out let me see if I can open this thing all up. Check out Booked and Bougie DMV on TikTok.
Spell bougie, because they spell it different ways.
That is BOUGIE DMV. Booked and Bougie DMV. Yes. Shout out, Shelly. I won't get your last name because I don't know what crimes you got. I don't know what crimes you got, but there we go.
Well, thank you, Shelly. We appreciate you, and thank you everybody else too. Everyone that tuned in, chimed in, commented, shared, liked, all that good stuff. We love you guys so very much. We actually have got y'all out here at 10 o'clock because y'all know the last show, it was like 10:15, 10:20. We was still talking.
10:15, that shit was like quarter to 11. What are you talking
about? It was like 10:30. We were still talking. So we got y'all out at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday. So everybody go to bed.
Exactly.
But again, make sure you follow us so that you can know when our next show is. I do believe it's December the 4th, but I will be dropping the flyer for that. So make sure that you follow us. And again, we truly appreciate you guys for tuning in. We love you. And we're going to see y'all on the next show. It is the Miss O Show with Wangin.
Yeah. Peace.